Hello, everybody. Here we are, July 29. Right at this very minute, turn down Epidemic just a little bit so I can hear myself think, whatever that means. So, I'm trying to get this microphone. Yeah, that's good. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, Facebook stopped. Streaming to Facebook stopped because of an error. Well, I want to continue. All right, I'm hitting Facebook two different ways. One with a streaming key and one with, I don't know what else, but so here we go. And so let's see if I can. So here, so you can see me sort of. A little bit of a serious profile. Let's just do this. Here I am. Uh-oh, now what happened? Facebook streaming key also failed after 2 minutes of. All right, so we're. So I have to go back there so we can see. Yeah. So we can. There we go. That's so now we can keep abreast of what's going on. And about yeah, the noise gate thresholds is set all the way down. We just have to have this sucker right there. I'm sorry, but this is supposed to be done. Oh, I think I'm turning this nut the wrong way. Let's just go down. Let's do it this way again. There we go. How's that? So now I'm talking right into this puppy. I know it comes on pretty good. It's on, but there's like a.
It's 10:30.
How about that? Is that any better? Turn down that. Getting a huge. That should be it, but I don't like it. How about that? Yeah, that's better. Okay, now you can hear what I'm saying, whether I say it or I don't. Yeah, you gotta have this, this SM7B microphone I got is one of the best microphones microphones on the planet. And it's supposed to be, yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That sounds pretty good. Is that? Yeah, I'm just trying to get this. I've turned off all the little settings there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. That's about it. I just have to my face right in there, I think. Yeah. Noisecaster Duo. See, I'm getting. It should be the. How's that? Oh yeah, see that? How's that? That's all right. I kind of like turned all the settings off and turned them back on again. And that seems to be, there we go, setting the level down a little bit. Okay, now I think we've got it. Sorry. It's taken 5 minutes to figure out how to talk into the best microphone on the planet. It's not the microphone, it's my soundboard. I think I got it right now. Anyway, Anthony Fauci is repeatedly invoking the Fifth Amendment. He's live on Capitol Hill at 10:33 a.m. Yeah, and I see a live broadcast over here in the very corner, which, well, it's not live. It's kind of like somewhat delayed. And if I leave it that way, I got a buzz. I'm not really happy about the buzz. No, that sounds pretty good. I just got to keep it right in my face here. I'm sorry. Keep bending this thing one way or the other, and bend it this way and bend it that way. You can hear me now, I guess. Oh, I'll play it back. We're in 9 minutes. My God. Okay, Anthony Fauci is. The other interesting thing, which I've found out on my looking at my official Florida download, internet connectivity, and when I look at the, let's see. See right here where it says, so here you can see the Mega Million numbers right there. 34, 48, 49, 59, 70, and the power Mega Millions ball is 12. And it says the next drawing is July 31, which is a Friday. This is Tuesday, Friday. Tuesday, Friday. Yeah. But the jackpot on July 31 is not available. And this is as of this is, you can, no, you can, I didn't know we, that's the first time of that. I didn't know you could, yeah, maybe you all miss that crazy microphone crap. I don't know. Anyway, here I am. I thought I was talking about. You have to. You can see me now. You can see everything.
It's 10:45.
See if I can get my there. Oop. There we go. Jeez. There we go. Anyway, so getting back to basics here. What I was saying, I don't know how much of this. The Mega Millions jackpot. I placed the numbers on this spreadsheet, which I created for myself. This is not any. This is nothing official. I've never spoken to the lottery people. In any regard, I certainly have never won one of these things. The odds of the winning odds are 200 over, worse than 290 million to 1 shot of winning it. And they've had 38 different attempts, drawings, Tuesday, Friday. And since the July 31 has reset to 50 million, that means somebody or several people or more than one ticket holder has won $800 million. And the lump sum, if you elected to do it, is $349 million in round numbers. And after all, that's pre-tax. And then after all federal taxes, your winning is $220 million. Ow, wow. That's unbelievable. Can you imagine? That's after tax, $220 million. That's assuming that you're a Florida resident, a Tennessee resident, or a Texas resident. They don't have income taxes. You still have to pay the federal tax, but you don't pay Florida, sure, doesn't have a state income tax. And I don't think Tennessee or Texas does either. I don't know all the income tax laws in all 50 states, but I have a feeling that those 3 states do not have an income tax. And additionally, Florida does not charge any tax on lottery winnings. Now, I don't know about that for Tennessee or Texas. I'm just making the terrible assumption that since they don't have an income tax based on your salaries, that they may not have a tax on lottery winnings. But you have to contact your own personal tax guy, tax professional in the state that you live in. If you happen to be a lucky person with a 290 million to one shot, you don't win, and this guy, girl, group, whatever, won 800 million. Oh my God. Jesus. That's unbelievable. So you better call them within 60 days to say, I want the lump sum, and then they won't buy the annuity. But if you call them on the 65th day from the draw date, they would have already committed to the knowing that there is a lottery winner out there, because they know that because of they searched all the computer records and someone won it, at least one ticket holder. I mean, there could be more than one. That would be like having Siamese twins at the 290 million to one shot of not winning. Whew. So if you're pushed into the annuity because you took too long to call your Mega Millions jackpot place, there we go. Then you're only going to get $12,041,041. You're going to get $12,041,000. That's your first payment under the, based on an $800 million payout. And the second payment, as you can see up there, right above that black line. So if you're trapped into the, this is like, I'm going to pretend it's 65 days from now and I have the winning ticket. And I call lottery people and say, boy, I'd love to have that lump sum. Sorry, you had to call us within 60 days. That is published information, public information. But if you have a valid ticket, then you're entitled to $12,041,041, assuming you're the only winner. If there's more than one, then there'd be $6 million each. If there's only one ticket, then it's $12,041,041. Your second payment would be $12,643,000 because every year it grows by 5%. And in the third payment, the second year plus a day, remember, because the $12,041,041 you get the instant that you go up there and get it, because you got to present your ticket. They validate it. You may have already gone to your local retailer and had them do something, but you still got to go up to lottery headquarters and fill out a form where you have to put in your tax ID number and all that kind of stuff. And then you give them your routing and transit number, and they ACH $12,041,041 right into your checkbook. And they'll ask you, in subsequent payments, are we going to use this same account number? And if you say yes, then a year and a day from now, the second payment of $12,006,000, it's a bigger number by 5%. The third payment, same way. It grows to $13,275. And it keeps growing 5% a year for each of the next, for 29 payments, 30 payments in 29 years, right? Because $12,041,041 goes in essentially in your account first day. And then next year, this day, you get 12,600,000 credited to your account. And in the second year plus a day, you got 13,275. That's, and it keeps growing and growing and growing until, it goes over 40 million the last payment. And that'll all add up to 800 million. But it's 29 years to get it. But you do get 12,041,041 the first day that you show up there. And if it's after 60 days, so then you're going to get it whenever you show up. If you don't show up for 180 days and you show up 186 days after the draw date, they're going to say, sorry, James, but your ticket is not valid for 6.5 months. It's just 6 months. So if you don't show up there within 6 months of the draw date, I don't think they say 180. I don't know. It's on the back of your, your place slip. You fill in the numbers with little zeros on the front, and then the back has all the rules. I think it's 180 days. If you don't show up within 180 days and you got the winning ticket, guess what you get? You get bupkis. You get nothing. You don't get lump sum. You don't get annuity. You don't get jack squat because you have to show up within 180 days. Yeah. Anyway, the lottery has reset to 50 million. The winning odds are terrible. It's 290 million against you. 290 million to one shot. That's your winning odds. I call that the losing odds. Because the chance of winning is slim and none. Now, someone just won. Okay, but, so here you go on Friday. They reset it to 50 million. And then it goes up, I think it, if there's no winner, then it ratchets up to 60 million, then 70 million, then 80 million. We can test that. My laptop is really slow. So we're gonna go to numbers and be patient. Be patient with me now. I'm loading it. Load. There it is. I have to shrink, or else see what I see. There we go. Here. I'm trying to get this. That's so. There we go. There we go. Now you can see what I see, generally speaking. I'll keep watching the screen up there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see these are the numbers. I started doing copying the numbers from the red part of the thing I see online rather than what that looks like. See, on June 19th, on June 23rd, I started doing it this way. little more dramatic. You know, you get the red, white, yellow. You know. Anyway, so I'm on the actual spreadsheet. See all these numbers. Yeah, my God. But you know, I don't do it all in one setting. It's just, you know, I just put this one in, and then when I saw the 2 a.m. Display on my iPhone, and it said that the winning possibility on July 31, which is Friday. So Friday is the end of the month, and the jackpot will be 50 million. So since the 800 million prize was likely won by somebody, that reset it. So 50 million is, you know, on Friday's winning odds, which still in, you know, the jackpot lump sums, see below the line letter with that gray arrow is still 21,000,008. That's not chump change. Yeah, oh, I only won 21,000,008. Forget it. I don't want it. I don't think so. And after the 37% maximum tax rate, because of Trump's great big beautiful bill, which the maximum tax rate was, you know, like 40 something percent, I think. And it dropped to 37. You know, maybe it was 39. You know, there's so many friggin' tax rate. You know, in the Kennedy, it was just during or before Kennedy, it was 75% tax on if you were, you know, earned over $1 million a year, you had to give 70%. So if you earn $1 million, you only got 300,000. I mean, Jesus, how they ever got away with that, I'll never know. But you know, it's Democratic Congress for a long time, and you know, stupid Republicans sit on the couch and don't vote. You know, to try to get enough people in Congress so you can stop that taxing craziness. And anyway, finally, there was a couple of Republican Congresses, you know, back, maybe it was in the Bush years, Bush 41, maybe. No new taxes, and then he gave in. Then they didn't reelect him. He was a one-term president. Why was he surprised? He had a 90-something% approval rating, you know, because of 9/11. And that was the son. That was Bush 43 instead of 41. Anyway, we're back here in 2026. And the Friday jackpot will be 21,000,008 if you want the lump sum. And after your 37% tax, you got 13,000,007 in your checkbook. Actually, you're going to get 21. No, you're not going to get that because the IRS is going to, you know, take the 37% as a withholding. And then you can apply and get some of it back if you've got you got enough, you know, depreciable assets or things to offset that huge amount of income. It was 21,000,008, where it says roll them, because it's not a rollover, because this will be the first rolling. You see, I reset the numbers. You can see right there it says 1. It took 38 tries, and someone finally won 800 million. Oh, I wanted to go back in time. That's why I came to see how, you know, I'm going back in time. Back in time. You see 50 million? So here it went 50 million, 60 million, some more than that. You know, back on March 17th. And look at this, on March 10th, it grew. This is when I started doing it on December 3rd, I think. Yeah. December 3rd, it reset to 50 million, and that's when I decided to keep track of the lottery numbers. And I copied the numbers. You can see 38, 34, 38, 40, that winning right there. See, no one won that one. Oops. See, this that's why I don't like to go to the spreadsheet, because it's touchscreen. And you can louse up the spreadsheet very easily. So it is not fingerprint proof. But you see, I got the column captions. I mean, I try to do a good job for you. Anyway, on March 10th, someone won the 533 million. See, I have WIN there. And then it reset to 50 million, like it did for this coming Friday. And lo and behold, on March 17th, no one won that one. And on March 17th, someone won that one. That's why you see a win. You know, you see win, WIN there. Yeah. And now we're coming down here. Win. Oh, I wanted to go up here and make sure it's centered top to bottom and left to right. It is. So that's it. So it's someone won it. That's why win is there. WIN right there in that column. Yeah, make that column just a little bit fatter. So now it's reset to 50 million. And I have there roll 'em. Because oh, and then I want to show you, see, then and it climbs to fit then 60 million. And this would be 70 million. This would be 880 million. There you go. I just put unknown next to those and had the numbers grayed out. So you can see it if you look hard. But what you want to look at is everything below the line there. I'm gonna let. I normally show 3. And then where the roll 'em is. And then we do a print screen showing this $50 million reset. Which I guess I'll go ahead and expand that to full screen. And do side and top button and side button, hit them simultaneously. There we go. And that one over there, you see here me in live color. Roll 'em, baby. And get on here. And we just showed the 3 payments. I'm going to have to show the 4th. I don't have enough width to show the 4th anyway. Ouch. Yeah, we don't want that arrow to be there. All right, I can do it on this. So now I'm going to do side button or top button. Now we're going to do the crops again. That over there. Move this one up right above. Roll them one. Roll them, baby. I didn't know what to put in there. I had to put something in that. Can't just have that box empty. Oh, gosh. I didn't do that right either. I got to get this over there that way. Pull it down a little bit so we get 3 of those. So that way, yeah. Let's try it again. I do better when I stay up all day. All right, now bring this up to there. And bring this one over to there. That way we see first, second, and third payments. And now I'm going to hit the print screen, the check mark, save the photos. And now I'm going to get out of Mega Millions before I louse up that spreadsheet. I can do it. Just wait a minute until it. Let's get it. There we go. I just saw a little symbol that made it clear. Okay, now recently saved. Is this it? Nope, that's the old one. Goes, yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm gonna part a heart by it. I'm going to. Yellow up just a little bit. There we go. Now we're done with it. So now we can see it. And we can see the first, second, and third payments. 752, 700, and see now, instead of 800 million, it's 50 million. So you got to get those big numbers out of your face. Now, to win, see where the gray arrow is. 21,000,008 would go on your tax return as your lump sum. But the big hand of the federal government is probably going to. It seems like I read or saw somewhere where the jackpot, lottery winnings are subject to withholding tax of the federal government. And they decide, whether they withhold 37% or 24%. Now, if the lottery winnings are small, meaning $600 or more, is subject to withholding. That's why your local retailer can't do it. It has to be some kind of your Mega Millions regional office. They have several of them in the state of Florida. So depending on how big your state is, population-wise or geography-wise, in Florida they have, 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know how many, but there's several on the East Coast here. One somewhere near West Palm Beach. So I'd have to drive up somewhere. Poor baby. So if I won Fridays, which is 50 million, then when I show up to the lottery wherever to pick up my winnings, and if you are going to pick up your jackpot winnings, I understand that you can't do it until 15 days after the draw date, because they they do a full accounting of all the money they've collected and make sure, and to determine your exact jackpot, because these numbers over here are estimates. Because the Florida, all the numbers that the Florida publishes results for are estimates. So it's about an $800 million that someone won on Tuesday night. That's an estimate number that the Florida published. Florida Mega Millions official people published that, but it's subject to what the exact amount is. So in theory, it might be just a little tiny bit above or below 800, plus or minus $1 million. What's $1 million among friends, right? I don't think it would be 800 and, 799 million. I don't think so. They couldn't miss it by $1 million, I don't think. But, I don't know. I've never collected such, but they do say estimates, so that means it could be, above and below. Yeah. Same thing with the 50 million. That's their estimated jackpot. Now that one might be exact.
It's 11:15.
Because that's the lowest. They reset it to 50 million. So I think this first one is 50 million. But they still say estimate, I think. If no one wins that, notice I have in light gray. I don't know if it's visible on your screen. It's visible on my screen. It might depend on how much brightness you put on the screen. But I grayed it out so it can be seen. If you download the picture and look at it on your iPhone or your iPad, you'll see it's visible. Because I set it to the fourth position over when you look at the color menu for black and white. So, if no one wins on July 31, then the next drawing would be Tuesday, August 4th. And the jackpot lump sum would grow from 21.8 to 26.1. And after tax, you'd end up with 16.4 million in your checkbook instead of 13.7 million. You can see how it grows. It goes, it goes up about 10 million. 50, 60, 70, 80. I think it grows by 10, like automatic, until it gets to 100. And then when it gets over 100 million, then I think it's somehow or other pegged to the actual ticket sale enthusiasm. But they try to bring it up 10 million each draw date to keep it growing. Now here it took 38 draws to get it up to 800 million. So you can divide 800 million by 38. All right, let's do it. Clear this. 800 million. So a lot of zeros. That looks like it. Divided by the 38 attempts. So on average, it went up 21 million each Tuesday, Friday, It doesn't do that. It goes up 10 million until it gets to 100 million. And then and you could probably see these numbers like 15, 18, 20 million dollar growths. So I just showed up to 80 million. Yep. Anyway, so that's the end of my lottery story. Much. Before I get into this war business, I don't know what's going on with that anyway. So a Washington man has been taken on a 20,000-mile joyride by the full self-driving feature in his Model 3. So he drove his Model 3 for 20,000. I got to get this millions out of my brain here. So he drove 20,000 miles and used his full self-driving feature, which is on, with hardware version 4, which is 2021 in March. They upgraded the camera package and the computer to so all Teslas delivered after March 2021, March and later, or during the month of March somewhere, they declared that all cars would have hardware version 4. Prior to that, it was hardware version 3. Now, hardware version 4, the cameras are 5 million pixels each, and a supercomputer that's 40. I think I read this somewhere. That's 40 times more capable than hardware version 3's computer, because you get all this digital data with these 5 million pixel cameras, and there's 7 of them. There's 2 on each side, 2 in the front, so it's 2, 4, 6, and 1 in the back. So you got 2 front-facing cameras, a wide angle and a medium telephoto, and then you got two different wide angle cameras on the sides of Tesla, on each side. So when you do your turn signal, the wide angle, so you can make a left turn, the wide angle camera on the left side shows up on your big screen in the middle. And you can move that with your finger. You can move it and put it in like 4 different positions, left, right, up, or down, like a square. So if you want it over this way, you can put it, or you can have it so that it comes on, close to because the panel is kind of like set towards the middle. And that screen has been over in the middle for a long time, because this full self-driving has been promised for a long time, and we're still not, unsupervised. You still got to look forward. If you take a nap, this stupid thing will pull over on the side of the road. You're not allowed to take a nap. You have to diligently look forward. You check a box, with all you got to read the fine print, then you check the box, which means you read the fine print in your setup screen. And then also, if you have full self-driving mode enabled, which is, you press the full self-driving supervised button on the screen, or one press down on your stick, I think will engage it. Or you push the button on the steering wheel, the right button, push it in, and that'll engage it also, I understand, with the newest software update. Anyway, this guy drove 20,000 miles and had that is believed to be the longest verified uninterrupted full self-driving streak so far. So apparently he kept on driving 20,000 miles. I don't know whether he maybe had another driver in the car and they just kept switching drivers to keep the panel active. He goes, this is for a single drive. 20,000 consecutive miles using the company's full self-driving system without requiring him to take control one time. This achievement is believed to be the longest verified uninterrupted streak on record. And along the way, this guy Moss also recorded all this, you know, all or some of this longest streak full self-driving. You know, maybe like when he got started on it, and maybe the last, 30 minutes when he was going to cross the 20,000 mile point. He wanted to have an even, so he drove a little over 20,000 miles, by like a half a mile. And then he got out of the car and turned it off, and it shows up as prior drive of 20,000 miles. And that's so. Here's maybe his son, and you can see the. I forget what they call that camera. He has a suction cup up in the glass, and that's got one facing over towards the driver and the panel, and another facing straight forward. So, he's got two suction cup things. So I think he's got two of those GoPro, whatever they call those cameras. And that red slit you see, that's a a multi-gigabyte card that inserts in. I guess you push it in that way, insert it in the camera. And right underneath it is where you insert the battery. Yeah, and I understand that one is good. 60 feet underwater. Yep. They also supply a case, which will take it down to, I think, from 20 meters to 60 meters. A meter is about 3 feet. So, you're getting down to like 190 feet. If you're a scuba diver, which I was. I was a scuba instructor, when I was 19, 20 years old at the Country Estates Club. Anyway, so there was one of the people that was in the car with Papa. He was probably the other driver, back and forth between him and his father, I guess. Here's another part of the story. So there's the first part of the story. And then there's the second part of the story. Despite this milestone, Tesla itself stresses that the full self-driving supervised is an advanced driver assistance system, not a fully autonomous driving platform, or at least not yet. Drivers are required to keep their hands ready and remain attentive so they can take control whenever necessary, especially in areas where there are lots of other drivers and hazards or emergency occurrences. His latest 20,000 mile streak has seen, as seen on the Model 3, effectively chauffeurs him across thousands of miles of North America, turning his North American work trips into what could be described as one very long autonomous joyride. Well, not really. Yeah. Focus. Fucci leaves the hearing after refusing to answer nearly all questions. And now he's surrounded by a couple of security people. He's a short little fella. My God. Is he 5 foot tall? He's maybe 5'1". He's a little guy. All these regular size, he stands up to a 6 foot tall guy. Yeah. Yeah, Fucci invoked the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, he finally, I guess, threw him out of the hearing. No sense in having 30, for every Republican senator, I'm sure he said, plead the Fifth. Because he got pardoned by Biden, but it was from all acts, previous acts. He could have saved us a lot of money if he's going to pardon him. His previous acts and future acts, anything regarding this topic, but it didn't. It only goes backwards in time, apparently. But, his lawyer said don't answer any questions because then you have to litigate whether it's future actions that passed or just passed, so when he came into the hearing room today, he just wasn't good. And he just kept us safe by pleading the Fifth. Yeah. Anyway, so we're back to this full self-driving business here. And drove 20,000 miles continuously, Model 3, which effectively showed him all across North America. So they must have gone around North America, several times to end up with 20,000 miles. That would be 6 round trips across the country. So maybe he went from California to New York, New Jersey, then went south on 95 all the way into South Florida, came up, the turnpike in Florida, ended up in I-10, drove all the way across I-10, going through Texas, and all that, getting back over to California, and then, then get up I-1 or whatever and go all the way up that way and circle the whole planet, North America. So that record will be alive. Here's the New York Post, Friday, July 24, edition, which is 5 days ago. Go big and come home. Trump weighing massive attack on, and Iran keeps, launching missiles and all this. And, President Trump's sitting around, playing with himself, thinking he's going to negotiate with these guys. They're not. The only way you're going to get them is to kill them. So you just got to keep bombing the hell out of them until there are no more of them left. Like these clerics that, until enough of the Republican Army, the IRS, they had, I forget the 3-letter acronym that goes along with the Iranian army. But he keeps, so he bombed them for, like 10 days or so at night because, they kept on stalling. Well, they're back into stalling again. Plus, they're launching missiles, at our ships and other ships. Commercial, And this is the final summit. That's the headlines here. So the funeral of Lindsey Graham that was on all day yesterday. He had a massive, they called it a massive aortic dissection. That's like when you get a blowout in your inner tube of your hose, in your car, one of your wheels ruptures, the sidewall ruptures. Well, the sidewall of his aorta, blew apart and dissected, so it was like when they did the autopsy, it was like a blowout, and his whole body cavity just filled up with blood. Instead of going to the organs, it filled up his cavity. If he had gone to his doctor regularly, now this is Jimmy giving a dead man some advice. I'm not allowed to give advice. It didn't say I can't give advice to dead people. So I'm giving advice to myself. Self? Now I am a survivor of bypass surgery. Quadruple bypass surgery. Would you believe it? 4 of them. I was in the operating room, fully anesthetized for over 10 hours. It started at 6:30 in the morning. I didn't get out of there until 7 o'clock at night, including the warm-up, when they start taking you out of they don't put you in the, what do you call it, the high intensity recovery area until you start coming out of the anesthesia. With that duration, you can maybe never wake up, and then you're no sense in putting you in ICU. Just say patient died because of the operation was a success, but the patient died. Well, that usually is because the anesthesia killed the patient. They drop your vital signs down to zilch so you don't feel any pain and your brain doesn't function the way it normally does without this anesthetic stuff that they either pump in your veins or you breathe in the air tube, or both. Anyway, so he had an aortic dissection. I've read reports that if he had more frequent visits to his cardiologist, they would have heard this with the stethoscopes and the modern equipment that they have, and they would have given his whole, heart and surrounding, a CAT scan, and then an MRI, and a high contrast MRI. They would have seen the weakness in the aorta, presumably. They should have been able to see, because it just doesn't blow up apart without. They would have noticed, I guess, hardening of the artery itself, the aortic, and they could have replaced that part of the aorta with a synthetic material and taken out that hardened artery. So when the artery gets hard, no, I'm not a doctor. I was a pre-med student, but I'm not a doctor. But just regurgitating what I read is that this kind of a problem is recognizable and can be treated. Now, maybe he got advice and said, hey, you got to you got to do something about your aorta. That thing's going to blow apart. And he may have ignored that advice. Who the hell knows? Or maybe he didn't go to the cardiologist enough. And, it went on undetected, so to speak. Maybe he just didn't take time out and visit his doctor annually, at least. Maybe he did, and he got the advice and ignored it. But, who knows? There's no closure to that story because the people that would have a clue, the media is not chasing because, they're mourning this terrible, death of a great statesman. He's been in the Senate a long time, and before he was in the Senate, he was a JAG officer, Judge Advocate General, JAG, which is basically a lawyer in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. I don't know what force he was in. I'm going to say Air Force, if I had to guess. Does it say it in a little box? Do it reverse pinch. Let's see. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came to pay their respects. How about that? For Senator Graham, a fierce advocate in their fights against Iran and Russia. Both also met with President Trump yesterday about, the matters that Lindsey Graham was advocating. The Ukrainian war and the Iranian conflict, war, whatever you want to call it. China accuses the U.S. of AI hegemonism and threatens countermeasures because of it. We would have to, we can highlight this. You see me just touching the picture and say copy, select all, or look up. Let's look it up. So we can look up, it was in Reuters. So let's just click on the Reuters story where this, okay. China condemns U.S. Threats of AI sanctions, artificial intelligence sanctions. U.S. alleges Moonshot copied AI technology. Moonshot must be some Chinese company. Beijing warns of countermeasures if it curbs, what they're doing. There you go. China Commerce Ministry on Monday accuses the United States of AI hegemonism, whatever the hell that is, and threatens countermeasures after senior U.S. officials said Chinese AI companies could face investigations, sanctions, and trade restrictions over the alleged theft of U.S. technology. Okay. The ministry said Washington was threatening Chinese companies with punishment based on allegations they used distillation to copy advanced U.S. AI models despite what it calls a lack of factual or legal grounds. Boy, that was a mouthful. Probably authored by competent counsel. Modern distillation is a widely used AI training technique in which developers use the output of more capable models to train or improve another system. U.S. officials say they distinguished between legitimate distillation and large-scale extraction that amounts to intellectual property theft. It's one thing to train your things, but you can't steal it. However that happens. For any action that causes substantive harm to Chinese interests, China will take all necessary measures to firmly safeguard its legitimate rights and interests, a ministry spokesman said in a statement. All right, well, I guess we learned what that is. Speed reading this here. Yep. White House Office of Science and Technology Policy Director Michael Kratzios Michael Kratzios said last week the U.S. government had information indicating Moonshot distilled Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 model to develop Kim K3. Kratzios alleged that Moonshot had built a sophisticated an internal platform to conduct large-scale distillation of U.S. models and switched between multiple methods of access to avoid detection. He also alleged that the company had acquired servers equipped with NVIDIA's GB300 chips and accessed such systems in Thailand, likely to train its models. The U.S. Secretary Scott Bessent later warned that the Chinese companies could face financial sanctions or placement on the Commerce Department's entity list, which restricts access to U.S. technology. There you go. So that company is basically borrowing that for a real long time. And you're supposed to use it to train models, not to, just abscond with the software. And that's the best distillation of that story I can give you. And it may not even be correct. I reserve the right to regurgitate that and throw it away. Yeah, who the hell knows what I meant by that? Let's go back. To my picture stories here. All right. This confusing looking picture is a 7.1 earthquake that happened in Japan. And that's an airport terminal that has been shook. Look at all the roofs. See all that metal stuff laying in the inside? This whole roof system completely collapsed. It's all part of an airport terminal, apparently. And it's all gonzo. It took me a while looking at that, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Here's some terminal stuff in the background. That building didn't get hurt as bad. This one, the whole roof thing collapsed. Multi-story, probably a very high arch, advanced kind of a roof system that couldn't survive the earthquake. Here's Netanyahu and Trump, arm in arm as they walk in the big doors. These guys are 6'2" tall, so, they're not miniature people. There we go with the $50 million lottery on Friday. So someone won the $800 million, and I looked on this official site and they had no disclosure. It was like right at the crack of 9 a.m., so they may not have had time to write up their press release. They don't release. They don't have any names. You know, when you buy a ticket, you don't register your name. They just give you a ticket with a serial number on it and all kinds of validation codes here and there, and serial numbers on the back and on the front, and they got all kinds of safeguards to make sure you've got a valid ticket, coupon, whatever the hell you call that, lottery ticket. There's the numbers: 34, 48, 49, 59, 70, and 12. The magic ball is 12. Usually when all the numbers are high like that you don't get a winner, because, you know, you don't have birthdays. Because they're not, none of the, 1 through 30 or 1 through 31, that's not on there. I guess it could be 2034, 2048. So that could be a year code. But the day of the month wouldn't be there, and the month number wouldn't be there, except in the Mega Ball, well, that's 12. There 24 goes 1 through 24. 12 was the Mega Millions yellow ball. There you go. See, as of like, come up on that ticket, and that's at 11:38 p.m. They haven't decided whether they found a winner or not. And then by 2 in the morning, they found that there was a winner somewhere. Maybe 2 winners somewhere, 2 separate tickets. Here's the story about the new GoPro. And the company is in a weakened state. As of the writing, GoPro shares are trading at 60 cents. 69 cents. It's up 0.55% from the opening in the morning. That's the stock price. It was as high as $94 a share in 2014, and now it's 69 cents. When it drops below $1 for 30 days, you get yourself delisted on some, I don't know, it's NASDAQ or, NASDAQ rules. There's the GoPro. This is the Mission 1 GoPro. GoPro announced the Mission 1 Pro and Mission 1 ILS cameras in April. These action cameras promise significantly improved performance thanks to all new imaging pipeline. Mission 1 is now available, and it is impressive. And according to what else I read, it better be. It's like $600 or $700. Six in numbers, so it was probably $699. Question is, anyone buying that price? This has nothing to do with what the shares are trading at. This is just what the pricing of the device itself. If they collect it, it goes into earnings and yada yada, offsets expenses. That has nothing to do with what the marketplace is buying and selling their shares of stock for. I mean, it's indirectly related, because if they sold a whole bazillion any of those cameras, they'd make a lot of money, and maybe the stock, the value of the company would go up. and then the valuation of the company would increase to the point where maybe they could start raising some prices on some other devices. At $699 for that one camera, it's hard to believe that they would take that camera down. And since it's almost $700 for this device right here, which has a lens shade on it, you see, new lens system. Anyway, that popped up last night or yesterday. Elon Musk and his brother, age 4, meals a day at Jack in the Box, showered at the YMCA nearby, and slept in the office. Every startup success story has a chapter most people never see. It's the stretch where founders sacrifice comfort, that stretch every dollar and do whatever it takes to keep an idea alive long enough for it to become, bigger and more healthy. Speaking of legitimate people in business, apparently there's been dog owners are used to being surprised by their pups' unexpected quirks, tricks, and behaviors, but they don't expect them to turn into a completely different breed of dog. But that's what one dog owner named Alaya experienced. She recently shared a video on her TikTok account juxtaposing what she thought her gray lab pup Nico was her gray lab pup Nico with her now giant Cane Corso, which text read, "To the person who sold me the gray lab puppy." The video, which was posted on July 14th, currently has 7.4 million views and counting. Anyway, so the bottom line on that is, it looks like a lab puppy, but it's actually a Cane Corso with her now giant Cane Corso. The text message that wrote, "To the person who sold me the gray lab pup." The video, which was posted on July, currently has 7 million votes. Yeah. They found out the dog they thought they had, they don't have. It's a variety of different stories here, folks. Now research puts a hard number on something a lot of IT leaders already suspected. Most AI pilots never make it into production, and they spend behind them, so it isn't disappearing. It's just sitting in limbo. John Bitz, Chief Relationship Officer and co-founder at CloudStax. Anyway, so whether it's breeds of animals or, what's inside of a laptop, if you're dealing with disreputable companies or not countries, but companies or executives within the companies that help to make for reasonable rules that's in your book, that gets updated up to a certain time, and then all claims have to use the new legal system that's on board. If the shareholders don't agree to it, then they're just going to go away. Okay. Deloitte Touche's own enterprise survey found that more than a third of the companies are still using AI at the surface level, with little real-time change to how they actually come up with these daily numbers. I'm sure they have specialists. Microsoft is one of the latest to put an estimated timeline on the arrival of a commercially viable quantum computer, predicting it will be in early 2029 for businesses. That's as little as 10 quarterly board meetings away. You got to order it to get it. You dream about it doesn't mean they're going to put you on the list. You got to start writing some checks and putting the orders in. They may put you on a list for a couple $100, so that way you get a ticket. And if they sold tickets before you, then there are going to be people in front of you in line. But everybody after your number won't necessarily be valid tickets chasing you down. It just determines whether there are any people that won when you won, to see if they're going to be giving up some of the money, splitting the money, honey. This is the airport grounds, a bigger, wider view. This is Anthony Fauci giving up the ghost. Let's get back in here. Oh, yeah. Buildings, data centers. Mario Tama of Getty Images took this picture. There are over 12,000 data centers across the globe. As artificial intelligence demand intensifies, more data centers are predicted to be built, and the demand for data centers is expected to increase 3 times its current, in 2030. 300% growth rate between now and 2030. This is 2026. So the next 3.5 years, there's going to be some big numbers around that. Nationally, the U.S. leads the world in data centers. There are over 4,600 around. But emerging research has revealed that the United States leads the world in data center locations with over 4,600 around the country. Data centers raise the surface temperature of the planet. And these group of scientists seem to believe that the planet has increased 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that the entire planet? The northern hemisphere? The northern and the southern hemisphere? Just the northern hemisphere or the entire globe? Could be as high as 16 degrees. Can be, hard to believe an average goes up 16 degrees. I guess it depends on how long they were collecting this data over, how much of like if they had such a bunch of centers in Florida and they, took a temperature of its operations or the surrounding territory, and how much did the aquifer increase over the last, these computer installations, these big ones, between big companies, when they outgrow their big, what they thought was, Catherine, now they, anyway, you got 4,600 data centers around the United States. They have cooling towers and they've got, water cooled systems. If you happen to be located near a river or something, they just tap into the river water on one, when you're upstream, and then run it through your data center pipelines after a fence has been put up, so that sorry for the P word, put up or shut up. Anyway, whether you're a climatologist or not, depending on the methodology of this guy, pumping water in. Europe is burning. How bad could this wildlife crisis get? What is going on? Amazon, Microsoft, and Google whether he must have. They get themselves in a little hot water. Too much. They don't necessarily want to, agree to. Well, here's a display cut out of the magazine somewhere. There's the 22 long rifle there. That's larger than your view. Here's the 380 ACP. Here's the 9mm. I got 2 clips. I tried to buy 2 more clips. Smith & Wesson 40 caliber bullet. There's an ACP 45.
It's 12:15.
It's the 5.7. That's a new. Look at that's. I have a handgun. That's that 5.728. That's 5.7 caliber from the tip to the bottom. The bottom is 28 millimeters. There's a 38 special, which goes in a revolver. There's the 357 Magnum that goes in the same revolver. More powder. The handgun's already tough to handle. That's the last thing. 38 special is enough. It's quite a blast, actually. And there's a 5.56, which is the NATO round. NATO, North American. It's a product. Safe to see in licensing thing. Or they do research and so forth, and when they recommend a caliber of bullet, they recommend, the 9mm actually. And I read the report, and part of the finding is that the ACP, granted, has more, shooting power than there is. Bring them both up. This. Can only do one at a time. Yep, you can move it over. Anyway, what the guide said, what the storyline that I read, is that law enforcement people, they like the 45 ACP, and they also like the 9mm ACP. They just call it a 9mm. But they, the NATO round is the 9mm, because these others have, what they were basically saying is the recoil is so much greater with the ACP 45 that it's hard to recover for your second shot to be anywhere near where the target is, assuming the guy's shooting back at you. The 9mm has a slightly less recoil, and making it more practical round for, close, within 25 yards. You're going to get past 25 yards from somebody, you got to hit them up with a rifle, not with a handgun, because your hand isn't steady enough to get past 25 yards. Now, you may try to aim wherever to, 400, 500, 600 feet away, but you can be damn lucky to actually hit the target, much less the bullseye. When you get to that 100, past 100 feet, or even though the design limit may be, 36 yards or whatever, but the practical application of successfully shooting a bottle or something off a tree, horizontal platform, that way. It's, you take a couple of shots with a 9mm, you're going to hit the tree all the time. With a ACP 45, it's hit and miss if you can have a key arrangement that was significant enough to when you fire, like a 22 long rifle, that makes a big bang. Now, I have a suppressor in one of these cases with a handgun, and that really quiets round big time. It just like with this 5.7, this guy right here, 5.7 FN, whatever that means. Let's go around. 5.7 by 28. It's smaller in diameter than the 10mm, or the 9mm for that matter. But it has more power than a 22 long rifle, rimfire. The single ACP 45 I had was part of a set which I gave it to Daniel. both guns, the matching pair. It's worth about $20,000. Oh, here's my disclaimers and disclosures. Warnings, notices, and cautions. Broken down into 7 sections. Look at number 3, for example. Now, these are all important. These are my disclosures. And my disclaimers. Disclaimer in number 2 there. No financial advice is given. All audio and video content in this channel. The videos shown, the social media posts contain our own opinions and views, presented for illustration purposes, for general information, and for educational purposes, solely used by you. Additionally, your money and your financial matters are your personal responsibility. Financial investing carries inherent risks. You may lose some or all of your equity or invested capital. Be careful and obtain professional advice before making any decisions like that. Number 3, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I am going to elaborate on number 3. This is a disclosure and a disclaimer. We are not licensed financial advisors. We are not CPA accountants. I'm a real estate broker. That's a whole lot different than, someone giving financial advice. That's not part of real estate brokering. You should always perform your own research and consult with professional with a professional before making any financial decisions. Your money and your financial matters are your personal responsibility. The following statements are personal opinions. Do not wager money on risky gambling. Do not wager money on lotteries. Do not wager money on too good to be true schemes. Certainly lotteries are that. The bad part of lotteries is that the winning odds, are hundreds of millions to one shot. So, like in the last lottery we just showed you, it took 38 times before someone won. Now they won 800 million, but you'd have to buy tickets. It's just a matter of getting luck. It's like getting hit by lightning, Yepper. Anyway, so those are my risks and exposures. They've changed a little bit. This is version 26, 0728 final. Yeah. So that's, and one of the other things in here is just a warning that, when you turn on your iPad, you turn on your iPhone, and you go on the internet and you browse and all this stuff, you're subject to getting attacked, because when you're opening up yourself to get information, bad guys could be putting worms and through the internet. If they want to get to you, they can get to you. They can crack your device if you get targeted. And almost everybody that's spoken to has either been attacked or knows somebody that got attacked, by a worm, or worked in a company that got attacked, with IT professional advice given to said companies, presumably. So the internet is a dangerous place. So govern yourself accordingly, get professional advice. Make sure you have the proper software protection, blockers and, such, so that if you turn on into the internet, you've got something between you and it, giving you some kind of a hedge so they can't crack into you so easily. Because, these devices anymore, they carry an awful lot of your, personal information, your account information. Even though you got fancy passwords, they can be cracked. iPhones, there's a device that you can pay, hundreds of dollars for. It's not millions, but for a couple $100, you can buy a device that can crack an iPhone. You need a computer also. So it's a software package that you install in your own computer device. And then you can plug the iPhone into it through one of your ports, C ports, USB-C or and after it can crack into almost any iPhone that you can plug into. So they can do it, with a USB-C cable. They can do it over the internet. Now, I've not heard of too many cracks into an iPhone. I have a number one son, Lee. He got zowied. Somehow or other, someone cloned his phone and cracked into it, and somehow or other, or maybe it was a financial purchase. When you buy stuff online, your information goes back and forth when you make a payment. Depending on what kind of retailing outfit you decided to buy from, and lo and behold, they got your bank information, and he lost. At the time, his bank balance was like $700. They took it all. He wakes up in the morning and he looks at his balance, and his money's gone. So it could have been from a previous purchase, and that company got hacked. And all those client accounts were then spun into some kind of a system that cracked into it and took the money out of their bank account. Every bank account that you have that's online, you've seen blocks of information like this one pager I got right here, warning you about, their systems aren't perfect either. Buyer beware of them. Same thing with me. We're not giving any advice, although we have opinions. We're going to give the opinions, but it's not financial advice. That's my disclaimer. Now, YouTube got after me because I didn't have such a disclaimer. I didn't officially disclaim or disclose. Well, you have to do it. You just got to do it. Or else people are going to blame you or blame YouTube or Facebook. They're just a platform. They're the swimming pool. Now, if you don't chlorinate it and you don't have lifeguards on it, you can die in a swimming pool. So you don't sue the water company because you use the water company's water to fill the swimming pool. That's a little, that's about what is going on with this internet business. You can't blame the platforms. You connect to it. There are risks in it. It's disclosed. It's disclaimed. And, they're just providing a platform so you can get a hold of all your friends and so forth. It's like the swimming pool. You can't blame the water company because you're all swimming in the pool and someone peed in the pool and someone got sick. Bad parallelisms there, but I kind of like that swimming pool idea. All right, Wilson's live streaming broadcast going live today within the hour. I post this on Facebook because they bomb out most frequently. I think I'm still online here live with YouTube. It shows live for an hour and 27 minutes. An hour and 47 minutes. Even though my elapsed timer says 2 hours and 6 minutes. I lost the beginning part of it somehow or other. And then it said, do you want to get off pause? I didn't know you could pause it. So there's a way of pausing it, apparently. Okay. YouTube.com /the @FAU for you. That is my handle that I created 15 or 20 years ago. People at FAU would love to have that, but I got it first. You got to pick up these kind of things when the platforms become available. And my handle for Facebook is the same, FAU for you. I registered both of those at the same time, 15 or so, 20 years ago. You may also see youtube.com and FAU for you. Yeah. In 2006, our handle. In 2026, our handle is simply the @FAU for you. Either in uppercase or lowercase. It doesn't matter. You may also use this easy link, and I have the link up there. I got it up there in red for the best high definition results on your Windows computer, laptop, Mac, MacBook Pro, iPhones, iPads, generally most current Apple iOS devices. All right. I'm going to go. You'll have a great day. Uh, an hour and 50 minutes is enough. Fair enough, man. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Be happy. Be safe. Drive carefully. Stephen, I tell you, the streaming right here on my day and the date.